Hello, everyone.
Hello, Annie.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Annie. Nice to see you.
You too, Cindy. Yeah, I guess.
You look so different now with your long hair.
Oh, yeah, I know. With the videos, I had very short hair, didn't I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep. Let's see. You are welcome to share your video if you would like.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
It kind of helps us to be able to kind of interact better during these studies.
Yes, ma'am.
I like seeing faces during the book club meetings. It makes it more personal. All right, excellent. We have a great turnout today, and I'm sure there'll be more as we come along. So Cindy, hello.
Yes.
Let's see, Elizabeth, hi.
Hello, Annie.
It's nice to see a video. You've been in some of the study groups, so I've never seen you before. So.
Yeah, that's so cool, right?
I like it. Okay, good. And then Dragos. I think this is have I seen your video before? I don't know. But Dragos and Amadou, glad to see you. And then hello, and then Arjan. Okay,
hey,
good. Fun, love it. Kentucky Wildcats, huh, Arjan? Is that?
yes.
Kentucky Wildcats fan?
When you live in Kentucky, that's all you see. So
Okay,
yeah.
you have to be, huh?
Yes.
There's no choice in the matter.
Well, we don't have an NBA team over here, so the closest we have one is basically the college.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind for that one.
No, it's fine. I like watching sports, but I've never gotten too invested in a team or anything. So, but I enjoy playing more.
Oh, you're playing? Did you play sports at all?
Yeah, I play basketball.
Oh,
yeah, I have a group that I play pickup ball a couple times a week with. So
okay.
A group of women, and a lot of them have played college ball. I didn't play college ball, but
So you can keep up with them, huh?
But it's pretty fun. It's a good group of very competitive women. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually gonna play basketball tonight as well. It's just a pickup.
How are you?
Yeah. So.
Okay, good. We have to have something to
Yes. Get us that exercise.
Workload, right?
Yes.
Good. Okay. More. Abby, looks like Abby's
Hi.
coming on here. Hi, Abby.
Mm-hmm.
All right, excellent. Okay, so we're doing our pro book club meeting today, and this is a little bit different than our study group. Study groups is a lot of, one-on-one, and everyone else is muted. I don't see videos. It's a little bit more structured, it's a lot more structured than our book club meetings. Our book club meetings is just an opportunity to talk about interesting ideas and to get your thoughts and opinions and ideas about things, and to practice English and practice our pronunciation, of course. But it is mostly about just the interaction. And that's what we're doing here at Pronunciation Pro, is we are practicing communication. And communication is a lot more than just pronunciation. It's a lot more than just the way that we position our mouth when we're speaking. It has a lot to do with how we interact with each other. And what I like about the book club is that it gives us some content to talk about. It gives us an opportunity to read and to study new books and ideas. And I've said this before, but it's a little bit selfish in that I want to read books, certain books and self-help books and things that will help me grow and improve. And when I had have a deadline, of this is when you have to have the book read and you have to present it, it really helps me both read it and really learn it and study it and enough to present it. And so if that is something that you want in your life, start your own book. You know, you can start your own book club as well. I mean, enjoying our book club is great, and having that deadline is good. But if you want to even present it, that's even better. So we tend to stick to more books about kind of self-help and success, and ways to find more success in our lives. Building confidence is a big theme. Some of those areas that I feel like our students, our students really need and want. A lot of our students here at Pronunciation Pro are working to build their careers, working to build their lives. And so much of that, a part of that is improving our communication skills. And a part of that is our other, professional development. And I want to help provide some of those resources to help you think successfully and be able to acquire those qualities of success. I have never met a more driven group of people than those students here at Pronunciation Pro, because you guys are all working to improve, to progress. You've overcome tremendous challenges, all of you, in learning a new language and developing your communication skills in another language, which is, I just think very highly of all of you for doing that and diving into that work. So it's amazing to me. And so I appreciate this group. It's really fun for me to interact with you because of the quality that we have here. I'm very excited about it. Okay, so if everybody is ready, and just kind of so I know sometimes we've read it, sometimes we haven't. I just want to get a gauge, and I'm okay with if you haven't finished it or if you haven't read it or you watched the video, but I just want to get a gauge of who has read the book so that I kind of know how to gear the presentation. So Arjan, you've read it, right? Okay. Does anybody else?
I didn't finish it.
Okay, so Elizabeth, you've read some of it. Okay.
All
right. Yep. Abby?
Yeah, I've only watched a couple of minutes, maybe 15 minutes of the video, of the audio. So, because originally, I wasn't gonna attend because I didn't have the time, because it's one of the excuses in the book. But anyway, I had a lot of the people in the study group were excited about being here because of the book, and it got me into the book. So I just went to YouTube and I read the book, and I found the audio of the book, and it was like amazing. It was the first 10 minutes of the book was so good. I thought I'm gonna attend and see what happens. Yeah.
Good. Isn't it interesting how the enthusiasm of others kind of helps stimulate our own interest in things? And I think, was it you, Arjan, that was kind of talking about the book at the study group?
About enthusiasm? Yeah, I think I remember the last book we have when we talk about just having enthusiasm attract people who's not really typically excited or enthusiasm. And so when we're enthusiastic about the topic or something, people want to know more about it.
Yeah. Well, isn't this a great example of that? Your enthusiasm sparked an interest in Abby during the study group, and he went ahead and started reading it, and now he's here. So thank you for your enthusiasm and the way it has helped at least Abby, if not more.
Anything I can help.
I love it. All right, good. So I am going to go ahead and share. I have a PowerPoint/keynote presentation that is created here that we're going to follow along with. And everyone, if you have background noise or something, you can mute yourself and then unmute when you have something to say. But I'll let you manage that unless it gets loud, and you know, I might need to go in and manage that for us. But I'll leave that to you for the most part. And so the book is The Magic of Thinking Big. And it was interesting because after I read this, I listened to it on audio, audible.com. I kind of listened to the audiobooks. I was listening to it, but this is one that I was taking notes on my phone almost the whole time. So there was a ton of notes about this book that I did, but then afterwards I was looking for just kind of an overview or an outline of the book, and I landed on this website, and this is an amazing review of the book. So if you haven't read the book and you want more of like a breakdown of key points and some ideas in that, I would recommend this blog post because it was very thorough and highlighted a lot of really great aspects of the book. So I can put that in the chat box as well. And actually, I'm going to do that right now. Let me put that in the chat box so that it's linked there for you. All right. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. Okay, so if you don't mind, I wanted to tell you a story here. And so this book, The Power of Thinking Big, was, I'm very passionate about this. And it's something that, especially over the last year, has become very, very important to me on a personal level. And that is because, so this is my husband, my wonderful husband of 15 years. His name is Dan. And I asked him if I could share this, and he said, no problem. If it can help anybody, then please share. But Dan has had a history of mental health struggles over the years. And it started really young, and over the years has kind of become more and more of a problem for him. Started with attention deficit disorder that got undiagnosed when he was younger. And so it really affected his self-esteem, how he saw himself. Very brilliant mind, very high capacity person, but to himself, he wasn't functioning quite like he thought he should. And so over the years, this struggle with his mental health, developed some problems with addiction, depression, anxiety, some of those mental health challenges that we see a lot, especially today. And about 2 years ago, it kind of came to a head, and to the point where he finally realized, hey, this is something I've got to deal with. And he was diagnosed ADD after we were married, and kind of started learning more about that and how it affected him. But the depression and anxiety and some of the addiction stuff and things really started becoming more of a challenge, and really came to a head about 2 years ago. And so 2 years ago, we finally dove into some therapy and some other areas to help address some of these issues that he was struggling with. And it was interesting because no matter how much I saw him as a wonderful person and doing amazing things, he had a hard time believing that himself because of the way he thought of himself and the way that he had trained himself to think from an early age, and those negative thought patterns and some of those negative belief systems that he had about himself. So no matter how wonderful I believed he was, he couldn't quite see it. And it was a big struggle for him. And so it's been very, very interesting, because over the years with different, and finally getting the help that makes a difference, what it really comes down to is our thoughts, and the way that we think about ourselves, and the way that we think about the world around us, the way we think about our challenges, the way that we think about, I mean, just our thought patterns. And so it's become, especially in the last year, a real practice of managing thoughts for him. And it's been very interesting to me, because although I haven't struggled, I'm naturally a very positive thinker about myself and the world around me. It's been interesting because it has not only helped me understand him and the struggles that he's had to go through and he's going through, but it allows me to think bigger, and to me to expand my thoughts on success and what I want out of life and how to improve and grow. And it's been very empowering to me, and recognizing in myself some of the limiting thoughts that I've had and overcoming those. So I'm very passionate about this topic, and I'm very excited to discuss this with you, because I do feel like it makes a huge difference. And it has made a huge difference for my husband. It has made a huge difference for me. And we feel like we just need to like shout it from the rooftops, the importance of our thoughts. Okay. So that's a little bit about us and kind of what we've been through in the path that has brought us here. And I'm sure there's a lot of you who have similar stories and similar situations of overcoming major struggles, and how you've done that through thought work.
Actually, I have an opposite situation. It happened to my mom.
Okay.
She actually used to be a very positive thinker, but after she divorced my father, she got really, really depressed, and her thoughts, they got her overwhelmed, I should say. And because those thoughts were quite negative, she started to eat herself from the inside. So those automatic negative thoughts made her very, very depressive person, and she's still suffering. And because this problem is viewed in a different way by her, she can't realize that this problem is just because of her mind, because of her attitude. So it's quite difficult to look at her and understand that you actually can't help, that I can't help, that my sister can't help, and like other people around can't help as well, just because of the attitude. And yeah, I have a lot of examples of the same people who just become very, very depressive because of their own negative thoughts. And they actually can't accept it, especially if you try to give a piece of advice. They start blaming you for being very annoying, and people don't like to hear the truth, but when it comes to their attitudes, it's very difficult to accept that those attitudes are not positive, not welcomed in a way.
And it's very easy to start blaming the circumstance, blaming the situation around us.
Yeah, that's right.
Responsibility off of ourselves and places it on something else, which is it's a easier path to do. And a lot of people choose that because that's, and maybe not consciously choose it, but that's what they think is the only
Yeah, and usually your negative thoughts live in the past.
Yeah.
So because you can't leave it behind,
Right.
you don't see the future. So it's like a circle, you know.
Right. Yeah, so the power of our thoughts, and it's interesting because we can't change how other people are thinking, right? Our very best option is to change ourselves and hope that they maybe are inspired or, you know, become enthusiastic about our own change, and then, you know, it carries over to others. But we see it all around us, and it's really interesting to kind of see the effects it has on others, but then realize the power we have within ourselves, right?
Yeah, but sometimes it's also quite difficult to live with that, because negative thoughts of other people, they influence you. Like you listen to some, I don't know, some ideas, to some negative ideas, and you get very depressed, and you start thinking the same way as well.
Yeah, and they address that in this book, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody kind of remember
Yeah.
kind of some of the
Yeah,
thoughts about environments?
Yeah, it talks about death, and that if you talk about death, it's gonna depress the others around you, because no one apart from your doctor or your mortician wants to hear about death. At least that's what it said in the audio.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I know that many people, because I'm running my own blog on Instagram, I know that many people don't like to listen to stories of bad health, or I don't know, some troubles a person may have, because it makes really depressed. But social networks are for entertainment,
Right.
for getting happy.
And there's a place for people to talk through and process through negative things and things. But it's just a matter of, you know, in the book it talks about our environment and making sure that, and there was an example. Does anybody remember the carpool example? Arjan, do you remember the carpool example? There, where he was talking about being a part of a carpool, that there was one negative person that just kept excited about going to work, and then there's someone negative, and what effects that had on him.
Yeah, I don't quite
Okay,
exactly
sorry.
that part. No, it's all good. But I do have a quote that I got out of it. He says, "All of us, more than we recognize, are products of the thinking around us." In other words, the way we think for ourselves, when we surround ourselves with negative people or positive people, it like what Elizabeth was saying, you know, it will influence us on how we think. And yeah, so yeah, who we surround ourselves is pretty much how we're gonna think like them. And I love the I love the fact that I get to surround with I choose to surround myself with people who's like-minded, who's a positive thinker, because nothing good from negative, and I don't want to be in a negative environment where it's not going to help me out. And so I chose to be in a positive people, in a positive environment, because that can help me and grow. So
yeah, awesome. Thank you for your thoughts. Yeah, and I want to make sure that everybody is speaking up and sharing their voice too. So if you're kind of sitting in the background or in anything, be sure to kind of speak up and share your thoughts. So we'll go ahead.
Okay, hi. My video, I'm sorry, my video is not working. I had to tell you, I was excited when I saw the schedule for the book club, because this schedule is better for me. But then when I saw the title, I was disappointed at first, because I thought that, okay, this kind of like a self-help book, you know, or about business. I don't know, this, I was kind of disappointed. So I started to read the book late, so I haven't finished, but I was positive surprised about the book, because it is not what I thought. And actually it is helping me a lot in about the language, about my English learning process, and also about my personal experience. And one of the things that have or that has been like more remarkable for me was this okay, first about this stop making excuses. I think that the chapter 2, because a lot of times I hold myself, or I don't sell myself at the right price, I would say that, because I think my English is not good enough, you know, to show the rest of my skills, you know. And probably I am making a lot of excuses, or I am using the lack of, you know, English fluency to be able to present myself, you know, and to show what I or who I really am.
Oh, I love that you brought that up, because that is such a key takeaway that I hope all of you really, really kind of use with this power of thinking, is that it's not necessarily those around us that is keeping us quiet. You know, it's our thoughts, and our thoughts about what we think they're thinking about us that keep us quiet and keep us from really sharing our voice and our expertise. And I've never met a group of people that has more education and more more strengths and amazing abilities who tend to stay more quiet. And it's kind of my motivation for doing what I do here at Pronunciation Pro, because I'm like, these are power people. We got to get them to speak up and share, share what they know, share what they've experienced, and let's give them a voice so they have the confidence to share that experience. So.
And the other thing that I would like to share is I haven't I haven't finished the book yet, but also about somehow the book is referring to some self-compassion, you know, which is a lot with when we are speaking English, but also in other areas of my life. I'm a perfectionist. So it holds me. That kind of attitude holds me back. It doesn't let me take the risk that I should, you know. And so it is. Yes, it has been remarkable. It was a really good choice.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Arjan, I think this was your recommendation, right?
Yeah, and also I have some struggles with my children. Yes. And one of my sons is an ADHD.
Yeah.
And so when I was listening your story, it was oh my goodness. But yes, it's also a lesson of self-compassion, and it is okay to make mistakes, and we can still think big about about life.
Exactly. Yeah, I have another son that has ADHD as well, and so it's interesting the way that we talk about it, you know, in our home as a very positive thing, because there's a lot of positive aspects of ADHD, and to help him kind of frame the thinking that he has about that factor. Okay, good. Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of point out a few points. I love that you guys are kind of sharing what you've learned through the book, so I don't want to stop that, but we'll kind of, for those who haven't read it, we'll kind of go through a little bit of some of the key points here. So success is a result of our thoughts is really the main idea, is that we can't underestimate the power of our own thoughts. And I want you to really think to yourself, you know, do you really believe this? Do you believe that it is you that creates success, or do you believe that it is more external? And I know that I have had struggles with this concept in the past, thinking, well, if so, and you know, just because this external thing is there, how am I supposed to do this? And I think we can come up with a lot of external reasons or excuses why we're not getting the success that we need. But really, in the end, it's just excusitis, right, that they talk about. So let's see, the quote here, Dragos, will you read that quote for us?
Yes, so you can move a mountain with belief. Belief works this way. It generates the power, skill, and energy needed to do. When you believe I can do it, the how to do it develops.
Mm-hmm. Good. What do you think about when you kind of read that?
So basically the idea is that if you believe you can do something, the brain will then start to look for ways of how you can actually go about doing it. And this is going to help you get the results in any area of life, any area of choice you may have. So you have to rewire the way you think. Because like we said earlier, it's very easy nowadays to fall into some kind of depression or to become negative, especially if you're watching the news. The world tends to be perceived as a negative place, more or less. So, but if you can shift if you can shift that to a more positive mindset, it's all about the mindset again, you will then start to look for more opportunities which you can implement, and that's what's going to get you your desired results ultimately.
I love how you said rewiring, because it really is, that's what we're doing with our brain. It's just rewiring those thought patterns. That, you know, we wired it a certain way, and we have to say, that's not working for me. I need to rewire it in this new way. I have to develop on purpose new thoughts, the thoughts that I want to think versus the thoughts that my brain just wants to automatically go to. So I like that you brought that up. Tell me, what's the difference between a thought and a belief? You know?
I think
a thought comes from you, like from your brain, from your attitude, and a belief can be something from the outside. I think so.
Okay. Cindy, did you have something? And then Dragos, I'll come back to you.
Oh, just come back to me. I'm still thinking about it.
You're thinking about it. Dragos, did you have something?
Yes, so I guess a thought would be something that you wish it would happen maybe, and the belief, it's kind of like it's getting towards some kind of an attitude which you may have to put in place to follow up in order to get your goals achieved.
Okay. The way that I think of a thought and a belief, and this is something that's, you know, I've kind of thought about a lot. I put you guys all on the spot with that one.
Can I just say what I think?
Yeah. Go ahead, Abby.
I think a thought is like something that runs through your mind, not really just thousands of thoughts. It's not real, but a belief is something that you make real. Something you accept to make, and it becomes real for me anyway. So
okay. So if you believe I have no value,
then it becomes so. Yeah.
So it becomes that reality becomes so.
Mm-hmm.
Versus I have great value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, and so along those lines, what I've kind of come to think about, and this is just the way I've come to think about it, is a belief is just a thought that we've thought over and over and over again.
Oh.
It's essentially, it, like Abby was saying, and like some of you are saying, it just has more weight. We've believed it. We've given it more time and attention, so we give it more weight, and it becomes a belief. Okay, and it becomes, like Abby was saying, it becomes more real to us. Okay, but really, in fact, it's just a thought that we've thought over and over again. Which I like believing that or thinking that, because it tells me a belief is something I can't change if I want to. If I want to change a belief, I can through thinking other thoughts and creating another weighted belief. Does that make sense? So I like thinking of it that way, because we think how real, but this is my belief. You know, this is real. This is, you know, you can't negotiate this. It's my belief. And some we want to hold on to because it serves us, it helps us. But some are not helping us, and we need to rethink those. And we need to train, rewire, like we were saying, rewire that belief system. Okay, so in the book that talks about Mr. Defeat and Mr. Triumph, or Mrs. Defeat, Mrs. Triumph, and I want you to think to yourself, what is taking up more space in your mind? Are you thinking thoughts of defeat, or are you thinking thoughts of triumph? So the suggestions that he makes is think success, not failure. So the positive to negative ratio needs to be in the positive, you know, side, weighted on the positive side. I'm better than I think I am. I think a lot of times we think that we're worse, you know, we're worse and they're better, or they've got it figured out and we don't. And I came across a quote that said, the older I get, the more I realize everyone's winging it. Some just do it with more confidence. Okay. So it's like everybody's just trying to figure it out. And you think everybody else has it figured out and you're the only one that doesn't. And I guarantee that's not the case. We're all just trying to figure it out as we go along. So believing that I am better than I think I am, and then believing big. You know, the size of your success is determined by the size of your belief. And again, belief is just these thoughts that we think over and over again. So what, you know, what thoughts are we feeding ourselves to create those beliefs? Okay, excusitis. We've kind of mentioned this a little bit here. But excusitis is the excuses that we give ourselves of why we're not accomplishing the things that we want to accomplish. I'm just gonna real quick look here. I wanna make sure when I'm in full screen mode, I can't see who's all here. So Amadou, I have, let's see, Amadou and Maurice. Okay, just wanna make sure that I'm not skipping over anybody. So, all right, excusitis. The excuses that we give ourselves of why we're not accomplishing what we want to accomplish. And we all are guilty of this, right? I know I am. Yep. And sometimes we don't even realize we're making excuses. We're not conscious of the fact that we're making excuses. We just are, it's just the way it is. It's why I can't, you know, I haven't been able to do X, Y, and Z. Okay.
Well, again,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a better example, but one of my clients, I'm helping her with her blog, and well, she is a life coach, and it seems to me that she has to be very motivated, self-confident, and so on. But because running a blog is not an easy thing, she has so many excuses, and one of them is her health. Like when she has health issues, she starts blaming those issues in the unsuccess of her business, you know, and she's postponing the things she has to do to run her blog, to promote it, and to get successful and to get clients. So it's again, it's so difficult to manage the situation because I'm just a helper, and she's my boss, and I have to wait. So it's really, really difficult.
It's
And I actually took a picture of this. Yeah, I took a picture of this page about this excusitis and sent her and asked to read, but I don't feel like she did that because she's still doing the same things and she's still posting IG stories about her hospital visits and about her medicine, and you know it's very unpleasant to watch, and she still wonders why people don't like it, why people text her that it's very depressive.
right. So really, it's easy to see in other people than see in ourselves, right? And what we're doing.
That's right, yeah.
What I see, Elizabeth, just to put you on the spot a little bit, there's a little excusitis going on for you, saying, I can't do my job because she's too many excuses.
Maybe, but well, my job, my job,
yeah, our own.
My job is related to blog things, so I have to get some information from her. I have to get some instructions, and because she's delaying, I just try to remind her all the time and try to motivate her by giving my own example. But well, it looks like she just ignores. So probably it's my excuse, but
right. And I want your brain to keep thinking, how can I, so I have this problem and I have this situation that I can't control her, I can't change the way she thinks, but how can I solve the problem? How can what can I do with my thoughts and the way I see her and see the situation to solve the problem too, okay?
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah, good. We all do it, and it's so easy to see in other people, but I think that at the same time, we're kind of doing the same thing to ourselves.
Well, I think,
yeah, go ahead, Cindy.
yeah. I think like I always make an excuse for myself to be lazy, not to study. Because since I have a problem with like sleep, it's really hard for me to sleep. Like whenever I lay down on the bed, it takes about 2 hours for me to get a deep sleep. So, but I had to go to school early. But someday I feel tired to wake up at like 6 or 7. So I just like sleep until 10 and study at home.
Okay.
But later on, I didn't make a good grade on the test. And after that, I decided whatever, even if I have problem with sleep, just wake up at 5. Even I'm feel tired, just hit the book. Yeah. And even when I do it, I feel better because then like I wake up and then move, and I feel like I gain more energy to study. So I think excuse is not good.
Yeah.
It's just the way we think. Right? Yeah.
Well, good for you for identifying that and realizing I don't want to make that excuse. It doesn't help me in any way. So I'm going to change that. That's great. Yeah. So another. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One thing that I like during the book, like in the whole book and in this chapter, is that the author is mentioning examples, which is really, let's see, in my case, if I want to have this excuse of my language or my lack of fluency in English, and then I, after that, after reading the chapter, I was thinking about all those people who are, they have an accent, you know, and they have been pretty successful in different areas. Even they do public speaking, you know, and they have an accent the way that I have it, you know, and so it is that's. The examples give you this realization, you know, like really, it is not a good excuse because other people with worse situations, you know, or worse, yes, in more difficult conditions, they are able to succeed. So, so.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because he does say, you know, it's an excuse when you can find an example of someone who has the same problem but is still successful. So someone who has poor health, but they still are, you know, doing what they want to do. They talked about
And sorry, and the
but still being able to have success. Go ahead.
yes, and the other thing is the author mentioned the bad luck as one of the excuses, which is very common for you know, everybody. I think at some point all of us are using bad luck as an excuse.
Yeah.
And this is not really the way. If we change our belief, we are always going to find a way to do it. So it's and also the difficulties are part of the process and part of the learning experience.
Yeah.
Also,
Abby, go ahead.
Also, I want to add the time excuse. As a lot of people I know use time as an excuse not to be able to do something. And it's interesting in the book on the audio, when it breaks down time, you have 24 hours in a day, 168 hours. Even if you spend time, 50 hours at work, you still have a certain amount of time. And I remember I didn't have time. And I remember I was watching a YouTube video, and there was this guy called Evelyn X. I don't know if you know it, but he breaks down time, says some people claim they don't have time, but they spend time on Facebook. They spend time down the pub. I don't know if you Americans have pub. I don't know if you a pub. Yeah, you guys call it a bar. You spend time drink with friends, and if you were to take all that time and tally it up, you have enough time to do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting when I saw it in the audio, because he breaks it down nicely. And even if you spend time with family, and you still have over 24 hours left. And it was really interesting when he said that in the book. So I can relate, because I used to be, I don't have time.
Yes, so it's interesting because I like that you bring that up, that concept of time. Just last night, my husband and I were laughing about, like, we got to the end of the day and we're like, when does anybody have time to watch TV? You know, because like, we don't ever turn on the TV and we don't ever feel like there's any, you know, time for it. So we're like, we can't watch TV. And so we were just kind of laughing about that. Of course, we choose that. That's, you know, we'd rather do other things with our time. But yeah, the excuse, and I'll kind of skip over this, but some other excuses is not having enough intelligence, and really not about intelligence, about attitudes and thought management. You know, it has more to do with it, and perseverance and grit has more to do with it than intelligence. And I think intelligence is something too old or too young, luck, time. One thing that I wanted to, I already talked about. One thing I wanted to talk about too is just that, so I have 4 kids, and this element of time, I tell you what, I think a lot about time. Time to do things, okay? And how much time I have and how to use my time so that I can do what I want to do. And so it's interesting because I've used the excuse, sometimes there's like, I've used the excuse of time of like, how in the world am I supposed to do these things? You know, when is the time going to be available? But instead of saying I can't, you know, there isn't enough time, the conversation in my head becomes, how can I do it? How can I create the time? How can I do this? And one big part of that is saying, okay, here are the desires of my heart. I want a lot of kids. I love kids. I love I love having a big family. I come from a family of 9 kids, and although we're not going to have that many kids, I do love having kids, and I love, you know, being a mom and things. So I want to have more kids. I want to have kids, and I want a big family, and I want a career that I'm passionate about and something that I love and I can spend time doing. And those two don't tend to go hand in hand, right? Those tend to be, there's a lot of excuses, a lot of people out there saying you can't have both, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do both. And I bought into that for a little while, of just saying, well, I can't seem to have, you know, everyone's telling me I can't have both. And so to me, I started going, well, I want both. How can I have both? How can I have a successful business and have a family that I feel like I'm doing a good job with? And as I ask myself how, and I'm very mindful of that concept of time and how I'm using my time, solutions come, and solutions present themselves. And it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of effort, but it is possible. And I just want to, you know, share that example because, well, first of all, we are going to have another baby.
Oh gosh, that's just so impressive. You must be very well-managed person.
So this next baby is due at the end of November. So
yeah.
Yes, this is something.
Is it a boy or girl? Girl or boy?
We're not finding out, and that is because
What?
Surprise.
yes, we want a surprise. I have 4 boys. If you noticed before, I have 4 boys.
Incredible.
And I know in my mind,
it's one of the reasons I asked.
Before I have a baby in my hands, I'm gonna have some really hard thoughts to manage. The thoughts of
Congratulations.
why is it a girl? You know, once they hand me the baby, I just love that baby, no matter what, boy, girl, whatever it is. And so it's a little bit of thought management happening here, purposeful thought management, in that I don't want to know until they hand me that adorable little chubby baby. And,
By the way, Annie, how do you plan your days? Like you run a successful business and you have a family. How do you manage your things every day?
I get a lot of help.
Do you have a special approach to planning, or it's just something usual?
Yeah, so it is a lot of kind of being disciplined about our time. I train my boys to do a lot for themselves. And so they get up in the mornings, they take care of their, you know, they take care of getting themselves ready. They take care of helping each other get ready. And so there's a lot of training of them to take responsibility. They do the dishes, they clean up, they do, you know, so there's a lot of training so it doesn't fall on my shoulders. There's also getting help in other ways that obviously my little baby, 3 of them are in school, but one of them is at a childcare situation right now. So we have that, and then once a new baby comes into the picture, we adjust and evaluate. And again, it's the how am I going to manage this? You know, how can I plan my day? How can I get the help that I need to be able to manage what I need to do? And once you change that from this is impossible, I can't do this, to how can I do this, it really opens up your creative thinking and allows you to expand that and say, okay, there is a way. I've just got to figure out the way, and I've got to be willing to do the hard. You know, I have to be willing to train my kids. It's easier to do it yourself. It's harder to train, you know, the kids to do it. But in the long run, it's best for them and it's best for me to do that. So, you know, there's these different things, but so much of it comes down to how can I do this? You know, how can I make this happen? And that's in a very expansive way of thinking.
Good.
Let's see.
Okay. Excuse me, Annie. One question. How long is the book club going to be?
Oh, so we are usually just go an hour. I mean, we usually go a little bit longer than an hour, but if you have to leave after an hour, I absolutely understand.
Yeah, I will need to leave soon because I have a flight next morning.
Okay.
I go to
I
Moscow.
absolutely understand that. We get talking about these things, and I think I can talk all, we could talk all day about it. So I'll wrap it up in 10 minutes.
Great, thank you.
If you need to go, then feel free to go. All right. Let's see. I think what we'll do is, I do want to go through this confidence piece because I think that there, especially for us and our students here, there is a lot to be learned from this book about confidence. And they talk about fear as the #1 enemy of success. And all that he talks about when it comes to confidence and fear and overcoming fear, I just love so much. And just some of the key points is, all confidence is acquired and developed. It's not necessarily, people aren't born with confidence. That's a powerful thought to have and understand. He talks about fear. Fear feeds on indecision and procrastination. So we were talking about the book club about, standing on the edge of the diving board. Someone was mentioning that. Standing on the edge of a diving board ready to jump, the longer you take on that diving board, the harder it's going to be to jump. But if you just walk right out and jump right off that high dive, you are going to, it's going to be a lot less scary. So taking action is the key. Confidence is acquired through taking action, okay? So if you're afraid of something, you're afraid to speak up, and Miriam has talked about this very well, is that that fear of speaking up and that fear of, and using some of these excuses, really what it takes is you just have to speak up. You have to, and the more you do that, the better you get at it, and the more comfortable you feel at it, and it just makes a big difference. The more you act, the easier it gets. Okay. Obviously, we've been talking about a lot, having positive thoughts in your mind, and steering away from things that you'll regret. But let's see. And he gives some examples of things to do to help you feel confident, things that you can do and act. So sitting in the front, instead of in the back and hiding away, sit in the front where you can, share your expertise and your ideas. Practicing eye contact, walk faster and with better position or posture, smile more, talks a lot about that. And then my favorite, practice speaking up. He gives a section about speaking up and the power of just doing it. And so speaking up goes back to conquering, goes back to conquering fears through action. Okay, it's hard at first. You won't want to do it, but the more you speak up, the easier it gets, and it becomes a habit. And you know that you have interesting ideas that need to be heard. And I know that you have interesting ideas that need to be heard, and I want you to feel confident enough to speak up. And so much of that is just the thoughts in our head, because yes, we're working on accent, we're working on pronunciation, we're working on communication so that you're well understood when you speak up, and that's a skill set to develop. But most of it, I've found, is the thoughts that we have in our head keep us from practicing and keep us from sharing and keep us from doing, really doing that work. So I encourage you all as you go along to really overcome that fear through action, speaking up, talking to people, introducing yourself, smiling, shaking hands, using eye contact. Don't shy away. You have too much to offer. Okay. Now there's so much more in this book that we could go over, but I think that as we go along, you know, some of the ideas, you know, the thoughts we have about ourselves, you know, making sure that we have positive thoughts about ourselves. Like I said with my husband, that was a big problem, and just overcoming the belief systems. Thoughts about others, you know, how are we thinking about others in our life? How are we treating other people based on the thoughts that we think about them? Mind food, what are we feeding? We think a lot in our society about what we're feeding our bodies, but are we giving enough time and attention to what we're feeding our minds? Okay, so being aware of that. I like this concept of super thinking. Okay, super thinking is being alone with your own thoughts and thinking your own thoughts. And a lot of times we get bored, or we sit there and we have to get our phone out and we have to distract ourselves, or we have to turn on the TV because we don't like, you know, being alone with our thoughts. But I want you to really think about that is, are you good at being alone with your thoughts? What happens when you're alone with your thoughts? You know, get curious about your thoughts and get mindful. And that's when magic happens, I think, is taking that time. And I get up at 5:30 in the morning, 6 to 7 o'clock in the morning. I think, and I read, and I study, and I write, and I take a whole hour. You talk about time, and when do you have time to do that? It's like, I know that think time is very important. And if I don't have that time, my rest of my day is a real challenge. But if I take the time, you know, to really solidify my thoughts and write things down, if there's things that are troubling me, you know, writing them down, coming up with solutions, coming up with plans. The power of our thinking is incredible. And if you practice that super thinking, I guarantee you're going to have incredible results in your life. Okay.
So you practice free writing, right?
Free writing, yes. Yep. I write down, and I think that it's a very powerful practice when we're talking about thoughts, is that we have to know what our thoughts are to be able to change them. And so
that's right, yeah. Do you know Mimi Icon and Alex Icon? They are bloggers and entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And they made a 5-minute journal. It is their 5-minute journal. So it's a very, very popular notebook for people who want to try free writing, because sometimes it's very difficult to sit in front of a blank sheet. They made a special system, like you open that notebook and you have something to help you to start writing, and you have to do that every day, 5 minutes in the morning, and then every day 5 minutes in the evening before you go to sleep. And it's very, very, very helpful. Once I listened to a podcast with this couple, and they said that they started practicing it a long time ago when they didn't have what they have now. And they actually collect all of the notebooks they wrote, and recently they started reviewing them, and they were so surprised to find out that everything they wrote long ago happened to them, and realized, like, it came to a, I forgot how to put it in a correct way, but you know,
word that is used, it became a reality.
Yeah, it became a reality. That's right.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so amazing. So you can research this notebook if you are interested.
I can testify of that same experience, because I have volumes of journals over the years.
That's just incredible, yeah.
And I write down goals, I write down things that I want to go through, I write down what what I'm thinking, especially this last year, as I've become more mindful of thoughts and the power of thoughts, even the negative thoughts, I write them down. And when you write them down and you look at them, you say, it's very powerful in being able to say, I don't want those thoughts. What thoughts do I want? And then on purpose, writing down the thoughts that I want to replace. And then the practice of rereading those thoughts, you know, and so that they become more and more solidified. Because there's an idea, you know, there's talking about our thoughts, and then there's practicing our thoughts. And when you can develop a practice of thinking thoughts on purpose, that's when the power comes. That's when the magic comes, is when you really think on purpose, okay? And I'm sure that that's, you know, that's something that you guys have experienced for yourself as well. So the other part is, you know, we've talked a little bit about solving problems. There is a solution to every problem. There is a way to solve every problem. You know,
Sorry
I can't
for interrupting you, Annie, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for this talk, and because I have to go now. See you next time. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Great to have you, Elizabeth. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
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 Okay, good. And if anybody else needs to leave, I understand. I'm going to kind of just briefly go through some of these concepts, but you know, solving problems, I think this is such a big part as we're working towards our goals and we're working towards what we want. It's important to know that detours and problems are going to be part of the process. It is the journey. It is the way, you know, things are going to be. And when you can just plan on it and say, it's not going to work the way I think it will work, and that's part of the process, that's okay. And that is something that I'm going to expect and be prepared for. It gets our thinking in the right direction. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Kind of that solving problems, you know, and being able to reframe that. Arjan, do you have something?
Yeah, I got one. So a little bit of story. When you talk about possible to impossible,
Yeah.
well, I remember about a few months ago, I was just in a position of giving myself an excusitis of as far as, you know, why can't I not find a program to improve my pronunciation? And so, but I changed my mind to where reprogramming my mind to like, well, instead of thinking it's impossible or not, it's not possible, how can I make it possible, right? And
Yeah.
so my mind just started to think a solution to where, well, anytime that because you can't see what you're not looking, right? And so when my mind is looking for a solution on how I could improve my pronunciation, out of all of a sudden, I'm in YouTube looking for, you know, just watching videos, and then something kind of popped out about pronunciation, and I saw your video, and so, and I watched your video for maybe a couple months and so, and kind of just kind of get acclimated and see how you present yourself and how the pronunciation work, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, this actually is the thing that I'm actually looking for. And then a few months ago I signed up, and now here I am, you know, talking to you and all that stuff. So that's a good testimony that instead of thinking it's not possible, thinking that, you know, how can you make it possible? So that's one story that I could probably give out. Whenever I was reading that, I was like, wow, that's actually something that it's so true, that instead of thinking impossible, because he talks about the guy that's trying to go back to school, but he have a wife and a career, but also another baby on the way, and all he does is basically give reason why he can't do it. But the author, he made him practice as like, hey, why don't you start thinking about things of ways that you can make it happen, to where instead of thinking it's impossible, why not think possible? And then he came back, and actually he was able to come back to school and graduate and all that stuff. So there's all kinds of way that we let ourselves down because of the way we think of not being able to make it happen, because of we think it's not possible. But when we get to that possibility, it actually rewire our mind to where, hey, there's a solution, you just gotta find it, right? And so that's one example that I could give you.
Love it. I love it for all the reasons. I love it. That's so great.
Say too.
Yeah, Cindy, go ahead.
Like before I really want to get to the graduate school to do biomedical research. But like 3 years ago, I'm so scared. Like I feel like I'm not smart enough to get in that program. But last year when I talked with my advisor and she told me just do it. So I just go ahead and took my GRE and then just apply for that. And when I get into the program, I feel like scary about like doing, like I have to present like my research in front of the professor, and that made me feel so scared. Then I found a way to solve that problem. So I just like decided to do like private pronunciation lesson with Miss Laurie. I know like I'm not really good at it now, but I feel like I'm getting better than before. So I think just don't be scared. Just like have a plan and try to figure out a way to achieve that plan, and then we know how to do it.
Yep, I love it. You guys are walking testimonials of this concept right here. I think all of you are doing this. You're saying, okay, how is it possible? How can I accomplish what I want to accomplish? And I've seen it over and over again with all of you of just overcoming that doubt and that fear through action and opening our mind to the possibilities. I think that's just incredible. Yeah, and it's amazing. Our capacity is amazing when we really open up our mind to to just the possibilities that there is a solution. Our minds are incredible at solving problems when they feel like it is possible. Okay, and that happens through our mind.
Yep. I
love it. Thank you so much for your thoughts there. That's wonderful. Okay. And just to sum up, the book is, he's really talking about thinking big in terms of, the success that we have in our life. And a big part of that is goal setting. And, he talks about dreams are wishful thinking, goals are taking action. And that's that overcoming fear is we're taking action, and goals are part of that.
I'm sorry. Also, before you carry on, I just want to say one thing about problems. Yeah. Sometimes if you think about a problem, sometimes the problem might be huge. But if you're able to break it down into certain parts, maybe smaller parts, it becomes easier for your mind to solve the problem instead of thinking of how big the problem is. That's going to dishearten you, or it's going to throw you off. But if you break it down, it's going to be easy for you to solve the problem. And yeah.
I love that thought. I love it so much. So when I refer to that, I think of bridge thoughts. It's like, okay, how do I get from where I'm thinking now to what I want to think, which is a big goal or a big, a big thought or a big idea that I have. Is going from where you currently are to where you want to be sometimes feels like too big of a leap, right? You're saying break it down into these smaller chunks or create thoughts that can get us from point A to point B through a series of small steps. And I love that because it's like, oh, I can't go from here to here all of a sudden, but I can go from here to here and then here to here and here to here. And sometimes we can't exactly map out how to get from here to here. we really can't predict all of the steps, but we can say, what's the next step? You know, what's the next step? And am I on the path? And reevaluating, am I on the path towards that bigger goal?
Yep.
So very, very powerful. All right, let's see. Miriam, will you read this quote for us? And I know that we're going to wrap up in 2 minutes.
Okay. So nothing happens. No forward steps are taken until a goal is established. Without goals, individuals just wander through life. They stumble along, never knowing where they are going, so they never get anywhere. Goals are as essential to success as air it is to life. Is to life.
Yeah, and he even gives an example of like a car without an engine is kind of worthless. It's just like, when we don't have goals, we don't have an engine in our car. We don't have a way of driving ourselves and getting the direction that we want to go. So goals become very important in it. And they're important for, he says, but they're the one thing in your life. So goals are incredibly important. They're the one thing in your life you need to be absolutely unrealistic about. Dream big. Aim high, aim for as high as you can conceive possible. Okay. I think that's the biggest thing is that we limited ourselves by our belief systems, but when it comes to setting goals and dreaming big, let's become those little kids. Little kids, when you tell them what are your dreams, what are your goals in life, there is no holding back. It is fun to see what they come up with. There's no inhibitions. And we need to take on that attitude when we're dreaming. Just let it go.
And also an interesting example in the book is the Wright brothers. I think he mentions it about achieving flight. They believe they could achieve flight, and now we fly in airliners or something.
Yeah. It wasn't possible at one point. At one point it wasn't possible, and then it was possible. Somebody thought it was possible and went for it. So I think that's very true in our belief systems. All right, so here's the takeaway part. What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway, and how will you apply it? I'm going to ask everyone. Okay, Abby, you want to go first?
My biggest take is, if you don't limit your goals, you limit your mindset, then anything's possible. If you're able to dream big, then success is going to be possible. It might take a couple of steps, it might take a long road, but it's possible if you're able to dream big. And that's what I take from it. And you have to believe in yourself as well to be able to do so.
Okay, and how are you going to apply that concept in your own life?
By using some of the steps, the how, the what, and like time, by not making excuses, trying to be better.
Yeah. Okay, good. I love it. Okay, Miriam, how about you? What's your biggest takeaway from today's discussion?
I would say that create goals, very specific goals, because otherwise it is going to be just a faulty thinking. Faulty thinking. So with the goals, it's kind of like going to be my compass to follow. And from there, I can create a plan, and it could be more realistic, and I instead of having just the thought, I could have the belief, because it is going to be more real, And how I will apply, I'm going to finish the book first, and but also I think I also create a plan, and keep thinking big.
Good. Excellent. Amadou, how about you?
One is life is too short to be little.
Yeah.
And the last one is a wise man will be master of his mind. A fool will be its slave. That's are my takeaways.
And how are you going to apply those?
Every day. Every day. So I've been doing that. So I think, you know, the previous books that we read, it's a kind of carryover of this book.
Yeah,
because
overlap.
Yes, because this book went out, came out in the 60s, something like that. And even now we can use the same tips like confidence, thinking big, you know, this kind of thing. So it's kind of the same tips, but with a different scenario. But we all comes with the same conclusions.
Yeah, the more self-help books you read, and the more you read about success, the more you realize a lot of the same concepts. So which is nice because you don't have to apply endless amounts of material. There seems to be some core ideas that, if applied, can bring great success. Okay,
Yes.
how about you? Thanks, Amadou. Cindy, how about you?
Oh, I think like I cannot change the past and I cannot predict things in the future. So to me, I just need to feed my mind with good foods, which are positive thinking and confidence to finish my day effectively, because I believe if every day I do that, so I got a little success in one day, and every little success will accumulate into a big success in the future.
Good, I love that. Okay, so you kind of talked about how you're applying it is just the everyday process. Yeah, applying that every single day. I love it. Okay, let's see, Arjan. Arjan, you there? Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me, by the way? It's kind of choppy when you guys.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
cool.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. A couple of things for me. It says, believe it can be done. To do anything, we must first believe it can be done. Believing something can be done sets the mind in motion to find a way to do it. And I already talked about that earlier, about just when your mind is looking for something that you want and you believe that you can. There's a burning desire in your heart that you said, this must happen. There's got to be more to this. I believe that by continuing to look for that answer, I could get it done. Okay. Another thing, chapter 12, he says, the important thing is not where you were or where you are, but where you want to get. There's a saying, I heard a successful person says, how do you eat an elephant? Well, typically I don't know the answer for that. First of all, why would you eat an elephant? But if you must, acquire the task, it would be one bite at a time. And so, I believe that there's a big goal. All of us have a big goal, and I have a big goal. If I just narrow it down to one step or one bite at a time or one goal at a time, I believe eventually through consistency, through consistent action, I believe I can get there by continuing to do what I need to do, which is discipline and self-help book or whatever it is. But setting a goal to where it's not too extravagant, but knowing that I can actually acquire it. So those are the biggest things.
That's excellent. Wonderful. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anybody here. Dragos. There we go. Dragos.
Yes, so I have 3 main points that I want to make. So the first one is that successful people don't make excuses. And so if something is important enough, they know that it's up to themselves to change it in their favor. The second one is that success is all about having the right habits and getting into the right habits, to be more specific. So if you're easy on yourself, it's more likely that life will be harder. But if you're hard on yourself, it's very likely that life will be a lot more easy. And the third one is you have to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah.
So yes, that's right. You can't control what other people think, but you can control which people you choose to be around.
Right.
And yeah, that's it.
Good. And one thing that I just wanted to bring up, based on what you were saying, is being hard on ourselves versus, and making the road harder. Is, I think this has been something that has come to my attention recently too, is that we have a goal, and if we say if we use thoughts like, I'm amazing, I can do this, I'm it's very possible for me, I'm going to be very successful with this, I just have to keep trying and failing, and that's part of the process, versus, why can't I do this? I'm such a I'm so lazy, I can't seem to get myself to do what I need to do, what's wrong with me,
Yes.
those type of thoughts. You talk about when you're easy on yourself and you're compassionate with yourself, it's the fuel that is driving you and helping you achieve that goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
The negative
Yes.
thoughts are also fuel, but it's more like sand in the gasoline tank, right? You're mixing gasoline and sand. Is it going to run very smoothly?
Yeah, and some people may argue that, from the moment when you think, okay, I got this in the bag, so I don't have to try so hard right now. That's the moment when you have a tendency to become more complacent, and you stop trying, you just stop going out of your way to achieve things. So from that point, you can say it's probably the beginning of the end. If you want to look at it that way. So you should never you should never settle. So never be happy with yourself. Like never be content. Just always try to go out and for more. Try and go and take more as much as you can. And just don't think I got this in the bag and that's it. I'm fine right now.
Yeah, and I definitely understand what you're saying. It's like that contentment kind of keeps us keeps us stagnant versus
Yes.
growing and building. But I actually think of it a little bit different. And maybe this is the same thing that you're saying, but in a different way. But when I look at my life and I say, I'm awesome, this is a fabulous life, I'm very happy, you can take everything away from me and I'm still going to be happy. The point of me having goals is just to see what I'm capable of. It's not to prove anything. It's not to somehow achieve some future happiness. It's, I'm happy now. I can get to a place of happiness and enjoyment now, and I can be okay. I'm happy with who I am and things like that. But my goals are because I want to see what I'm capable of. I want to see how I can stretch myself and grow and become even better. And I think that for me, when I think that way, it helps me, it helps drive me in a way that is coming from a place of joy and happiness and of who I am. I'm valuable, I'm worthwhile just the way I am, but the goals are helping me become even, just to see what I'm capable of.
Right.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked. The book talks about thought, so I think that we shouldn't have to sell ourselves short. So when we take action, taking action is not enough. So as I said previously, so when you take action and you don't think it will work out, you won't gonna succeed because you act but you don't believe. But if your thought, if you act and you believe strongly that it will work out, it will work out. You know what I mean? So it makes a big difference.
Yeah. I think that's a great way to kind of wrap up the whole book, because that's exactly what it's trying to show us, is just thinking big and believing big, taking the action towards those things, and that's how we get the success that we're really after.
Yes, and I think that you not only convince yourself that it will work out, but other people will also think that it will work out because they believe in you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, that enthusiasm, coming back to the enthusiasm, as you think big and as you are reaching for your goals and you have those positive thoughts and you go out in the world in a positive way with those positive, that positive thought patterns, the influence that you have on others is tremendous. And I can't underestimate the importance of that, of how much good you can do in the world as you concentrate on your own mind management and your own belief systems. You do so.
Yes. Yes, and as it said, so if you believe in this, the how to do it develops. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, I love it. All of you are wonderful people, and I'm so glad to associate with you. Thank you so much. And speaking of time management, I don't do a very good job with these book clubs because I just want to talk all day with all of you.
Oh, I like to talk all day too.
So I apologize if I'm taking you away from something else, and I've overdone my time limit here. But thank you so much for coming and for participating and sharing your thoughts and speaking up and practicing that action. I'm so very proud of you. And keep taking action, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.